The sound of Gay UK. This is Gaydar Radio.
There is a fantastic show that has been running to sell out audiences at the Menier Chocolate Factory in London's London, and the stars of said show are here. Ruby Wax and Judith Owen. Welcome to Gaydar.
Hi. Hello.
Oh, what an honour!
Is there a woman gagging behind you?
No, that was me gagging, Ruby.
It was very bad, that performance. I'm sorry. It sounded like you were being sick.
I knew that you were actually excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excitement, hanging yourself, same thing. Yeah.
Same thing.
We've got you on a party line, I understand.
Yes, well, I'm actually hiding downstairs and Ruby's upstairs. And yet you're still really loud, Ruby.
There's two women in the one-woman show.
Yes.
Yeah. And Judith plays the music under me, so she should really be talking under me.
Right, I see.
Yeah,
But that's impossible to do with technology.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And yeah, I'm such an important part that I keep coming through.
Yeah.
I love it, too.
How long have you two known each other?
Oh, Judith,
Well,
I used to go...
No, carry on, yeah.
No.
It's too
I used
funny
to
word.
go out with her husband, okay?
All right, she screamed that.
I used to go out with her husband, and then he married her. Well, clearly, if it was her husband. So that brought us together, and now we like each other more than the husband.
Oh, my goodness.
No, the truth is we did like each other at first because we were both putting the game face on, and that didn't work. And then when we found out we were both incredibly ill, then we really got on.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Because then there was no pretense. Then we saw it and we liked each other.
But they don't know what we mean by ill.
Well,
so
we'll get there.
Let them ask.
You ask the next question.
What do you mean by ill?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. No.
Ruby.
Okay, we're doing a comedy show called Losing It, but the point is everybody has lost it, because the whole point is nobody gets an instruction manual as to how to get through, life. Like you pretend to be an adult and you pretend to know what you're doing. Do you understand, or do you not understand?
Totally what you mean.
I've lost
Yeah,
it.
like I say, even your washing machine gets an instruction manual. But, it says put in white powder, and if I did that, I'd end up in rehab. So that's the premise of the whole show. And Judith plays under me. I don't like cabaret. So we've done something nobody's done.
Let me say that in a nicer way. I'm actually the musical soundtrack to the show, and so I'm singing and performing constantly throughout, and it's a duet between two women, between the spoken word and music.
Yeah, there we go.
And very eloquent.
Do you actually speak with each other? Or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Judith doesn't speak in the show. She plays the music. So if she could just do that now, that would be great.
But that's not going to happen, is it? Because in the show, it turns out that I'm actually...
No, but they won't understand that.
But they will right now, otherwise this will be such a boring interview. But yeah, carry on, Ruby, with what we're actually...
At the very end of the show, not very end,
Yes.
1 in 4 people have a mental problem, mental illness. And Judith and I happen to be that 1 in 4.
Yeah.
So toward the end of the show, we take you... let's say we're the ones that really didn't make it. I mean, it looks like you do because we're perky, but we actually have the real thing. Now, funnily enough, most of the audience start nodding their heads because if you haven't got it, depression or whatever, you know somebody who has.
Yeah.
And that's become so successful, that bit, and they start identifying with what I'm talking about. Like, it's not about being sad, for God's sake. It's the stupidest word. It's when you don't know whether to get a manicure or jump off a cliff. And then there's an interval when the show's over. So it's taking you on a kind of roller coaster ride from comedy to dark.
Why do you think mental health issues are so sort of pushed away? Why do people not want to talk about them?
Well,
because you can't see them. I mean,
you can't see them, yeah. And I say in the show, once you couldn't talk about being gay, and then later you couldn't say you were a witch, and now it happens to be, the new victim is mental illness, even though it's now 1 in 4 and rising. But people, Judith, say what you were going to say.
Oh, just it's the fact that, and Ruby says this very, very clearly, but it's like if you had something that people could see, if you broke a leg, if you hurt yourself, if you had cancer, if you had anything that you could physically see, it's a lot more acceptable. The thing of the brain, the thing of the not being able to see it, which they will one day, but not being actually able to see this thing, put your hands on it, is the most frightening thing of all, I think. It's the unknown, and that's what terrifies us all.
And so people are isolated. We're not as organized as AA, where you get little yellow pages on every other block. Yeah. They can meet and smoke and eat cookies. So there's no place for people to meet, or call. So on every Thursday, we've opened up the Chocolate Factory between 2 and 4. It's free. And we have, a great speaker. We have Camilla Batmangela, next week. And then besides that, we have a whole staff from the charity Sane who are wearing sashes. And they tell, if you have a problem or if you are a carer and you have a problem, they will tell you where you can go in the country for free, where it won't cost anything to get help.
Ruby and Judith, you took this show to the Priory, didn't you, before you went on tour with it?
Yeah.
What was it like playing to an audience that really understood? I mean, it must have been such a relief for them and for you.
We did Live from the Priory because we thought, what a hilarious name. And then I invited my friends and the inmates, and everybody was looking at everybody wondering who's in, who's out. It was
remarkable.
It was
and people
remarkable.
dressed as if they were going to Glyndebourne, and planes were going overhead.
And Ian McKellen was there, very confused.
Very confused.
And then we took it on the road for a year to NHS hospitals, like, small walk-ins and big institutions. And all those inmates, if you can make them laugh.
Yeah.
And they never thought we were mocking them because they're our tribe.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about finding the tribe.
Yeah.
And then we played real theaters, like, really, the Royal in Bath and the Royal in whatever.
Brighton, we went all over the country.
The audience do the same thing. They stand up and go, where can I get help? This happened to me. Because after the interval, we let the audience talk.
Yeah.
And that's how the workshop, the forums on Thursday came about. They said, we don't know where to go. So we thought, let's get them help.
Yeah, and we ended up finding these lovely drop-in centres when we were on tour, where, like I said earlier, the reason Ruby and I really started getting on is because we both had this thing that we recognized. So it was like, how do you do that thing, the AA thing, where people of the same tribe, as Ruby says, get together and are allowed permission to speak, given permission to say what's really going on, without having to explain themselves, because when you both got it, there's no explanation needed.
Mental health issues twice as common, I don't know whether you know this, twice as prevalent with gay men and women than straight people. Have you got any idea why that would be, and what can we do about this? Because it's kind of like the hidden thing that we don't talk about.
Well, you got a double whammy there, don't you, man? The one thing that exasperates it, and I don't want to make that sound like it's not medical, because believe me, depression is medical. It's physical. It's in, you can look at it in a scanner. You are lacking a certain chemical, and you wouldn't say to a diabetic, perk up. Part of what exasperates it is shame. Yeah. And it's like layering it on, and the shame makes the voices louder. And your condition, it builds up the cortisol, and the cortisol in your brain, the adrenaline, is the sickness. So now if you've got a problem with being gay, or you're hiding it, and then on top of it you have depression, imagine what that's doing to your, your physical essence.
It's the secret. It's the keeping something secret. It's the hiding.
For anybody that feels that they're, listen to what you're saying and think they're relating to what you're saying, what can they do? Where should they go?
Come Thursday and get help, because you don't want to. Well, look, the GP doesn't have time, and he'll give you a kind of a generic pill, which is great, okay? But the important thing is to meet people who are like you, really, and then also meet, Sane is so, they've been around 25 years. They know a good therapist from a bad. That's another problem. They know about drugs, and they know who to send you to. See, I never knew where to go, and a lot of people don't. You may be taken advantage of.
But
me neither.
But what you're doing is brilliant, because you are really helping to bring this out and make it a lot more public than it ever has been.
Did either of you have experiences with psychiatrists or even like GPs where they kind of dismissed you a little bit and didn't give you the answers that you needed?
Yes, absolutely. My mother was absolutely told at the height of her depression, and where she was virtually psychotic, to pull herself together, because she had children to take care of. So, get over it, and here's some Valium. Yeah, I've seen that very, very directly.
What sort of response have you had from people that have either been to one of these sessions or been to see the show itself? What sort of reaction are you getting from people?
Well, we have a couple of women who return every single week, and we're seeing that more and more, quite frankly. And we've had double the amount. It's only been running a couple of weeks now, but we've had double the amount every week. And it's a matter of, it's building, but it's happening very quickly, and it's really wonderful to see this.
And the show sort of liberates them in a way. The show is bringing it completely out of the closet. Yeah. But, in a sense, it's not whining. It's the best comedy I've ever written, more than Ab Fab, in a very funny way. And then you get an undercurrent underneath. I'm saying this is the way we live, and this is what's going on, without just doing flippant lines about aren't cats weird.
Yeah, well, and I think, if I might say, that one of the reasons it's so funny, one of the reasons Ruby is so funny in it, is because it's honest. and she comes across as being true, real, and vulnerable, and absolutely saying the truth. And you can see through that. That's why we performed it in front of people who were ill, because you can see through that. If it's not genuine, you know it's false. And that's, I think, what really touches people about this. It's not what you would expect from Ruby, and it's just really incredible stuff. From my perspective, from me watching it every night.
I was going to say, I just grabbed my pearls when you said it's funnier than Ab Fab, and the best thing you've done, I've actually physically just grabbed my pearls. Ruby and Judith, you are just an incredible silver lining on a dark cloud. I think this should be in schools. This should be so much more, brought forward to the whole population, don't you think?
Well, it's disgraceful that we're in 2011 and we still, have this kind of shame about something that is in every country in the world. This isn't a Western, self-indulgence, and it's mounting. And so, what's interesting is the government keep going on about crime, and they go on about cancer and diabetes. Where do you think that emanates from? If they gave the money to brain research, right, which now is so shaming because every other organ can get sick, and you get pity except the brain. Duh. It should be in every school. Kids should be taught. This is how the human brain works. And, to understand when they might be ill or why their mom acts so weird or their cousin.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And the idea, as you said at the start of the interview, about having a manual for life, there should be almost like life lessons that you go all the way through the curriculum that teach all those kind of things. Because nobody tells you about that stuff.
Nobody does.
No.
That's why we're getting screwed up.
Yeah.
Well, you two are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but ultimately everybody, and you don't have to be mentally ill to need help. You don't have to have a depression to be lost and confused and feeling like you're the only person that doesn't know what's going on. I think most of us go through life feeling that way.
Hell yeah. Well, the good news is, Ruby, you're doing a master's at Oxford, aren't you, studying the mind? Well, I think there's a kind of thing going on. Professor Wax could teach the whole world about this.
Fantastic talking to you guys. Thanks ever so much for giving up some time.
Thank you for helping us.
The show continues through until Sunday, June 19th. That's Ruby
so
Wax.
Come to the show.
We are.
We'd love to,
Oh, good.
Ruby Wax and Judith Owen, thanks for talking to Gaydar.
Pleasure. Thank you.
On mobile, online, and on digital. This is GaydarRadio. GaydarRadio.